Houston, it's Mary Scally with Simple Elegance and Around H-Town with Simple Elegance, and we are back this week and so honored to have Bethany Alexander with us of Household Names Public Relations. Hey, Bethany.
Hello, Mary. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just so honored for the opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I'm just so happy we've become friends in 2021. Actually, we started December 2020.
You were a great Christmas gift.
Christmas gift. I had COVID, and and that's how we met on Zoom. And here we are,
just like this,
back again on Zoom. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So, Bethany, tell us about you and how, like, your journey of how you got to now owning your public relations company.
Awesome. Well, how long do you have? No, I'm just kidding.
Forever and ever.
I love that. I actually came into Household Names PR kind of by necessity almost. After a couple of years after college and being in the corporate world, though it is amazing for so many people, I just realized corporate America wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I have always had a vision board of owning an event venue or a bed and breakfast, and owning a public relations firm was on that vision board as well. I just thought it would be maybe 10 years in the future, but I was honestly just so blessed with the opportunity to start Household Names in 2019. So just celebrated 2 years, can't believe it, but thank you. And it's just been a great journey so far. Again, very blessed by even the opportunity to do it in the first place. But really, after spending time working for small business owners in college and a little bit after quitting my job, and honestly, I quit my job and did the one thing you're not supposed to, quit your job without having another job. And while of course, that did not delight all of my family at first. I don't blame them, by the way. If you're watching, I do not blame you. But I was fortunate to have the opportunity to work for some other small business owners and get back in that routine of, not just mom and pop businesses, but ones that are really taking off and expanding and going past just the local as well, though my heart is all about local. And so again, I'm so grateful to be on around H-Town. But after, working for several and kind of taking on those jobs at the same time, I realized, okay, I'm kind of doing what I would be if I was at a PR firm or doing marketing. So I thought, why don't I use this opportunity to create something that I've always wanted to, and that would be not only an opportunity for me, but hopefully, in the future, so many more entrepreneurs and marketing specialists and event planners and things like that to join onto the team as well.
I love that vision. I love one other thing, that you had looked into a bed and breakfast. I'd gone to hotel school at Michigan State. And when I got to my senior year, the professor I was a teaching assistant for, he was like, Mary, what have you missed? I was like, there was no classes on bed and breakfasts. I want a bed and breakfast class. And he's like, okay, let's create one. And it was so like, we put an offer in on Cape Cod on a bed and breakfast. It was quite creative. They basically were paying us and they didn't quite like that. And they wanted us to pay them. Guess kind of that's generally what you expect. But you know what? It's like that these desires into your heart. And I praise God that we never went down that path, because I wouldn't be here. And like you wouldn't be here. It's like God really, he does direct our paths. And you said something really important, I think. You quit your job without having anything else out there. And there were people that weren't happy with that decision. Quote, quote, not a good idea. Well, but you know what? Sometimes that's the best idea that you have. And God takes that freedom and directs your path into where he really wants you. And we have to really watch the naysayers, because especially as you begin your own business,
Mm.
there's going to be a lot of people that are like, are you crazy? You
Right.
know?
Oh, myself being one of them.
And it's so important to just, it's like, no, this is where God has told me to go. That's the one I have to listen to. And, we're just going to trust him for that. So I love that journey. So
Right.
now, like, basically, what do you guys do?
So we specialize, this is going to be the broad answer, and then I'll go
Okay.
into more detail, but we focus on public relations, and all of that entails marketing and graphic design and event coordinating. So really those are the specialties that we focus on. We love working with other entrepreneurs, of course, with similar values and similar drive as well. We love working with real estate and hospitality. So that still goes in with the bed and breakfast and the event venue. So I'm really fortunate to have the opportunity to work in these places and with these people that, are on that vision board. And it's so cool to see how God does change the desires of your heart to match, the path for him. And I'm a big believer of bless it or block it. That's my go-to prayer. And so really everything about this journey has been a lot of bless it or block it. And so that's kind of how it went, along with, the services we provide as well. We, have done a lot in the last 2 years, and half of that has been during a crazy time on the planet. And so really being using that innovation to find out what our customers need, because we could offer, graphic design all day, but if they're really needing more of the marketing and the content creation, that's what we want to make sure we're creating those opportunities and that education to provide them. So we, like I said, we focus on event coordinating, graphic design, and public relations. Do a lot of content for your brand, very brand oriented and results oriented. Love goal setting, which I know we both do.
Uh-huh.
You are my goal to be in terms of goal setters. We are so blessed to have the opportunity to be going through the program we are right now,
Right. The
talking
broker boot camp, which is huge.
huge. Huge in goal setting and lining up our values with really our purpose and choosing what services to provide in that. And so ultimately, whether it's creating websites or hooking you up with the right person to create your website, creating content for press releases or content for your marketing materials, and then ultimately private and corporate events. Whatever that need is, we want to meet it and find a way to do that, especially in the time we're in right now. So
Right, where those events have kind of, like, 2020 didn't have many of them at all, or we were all sitting on a Zoom thing. Hi,
it's a
hi,
little
hi,
different. Yeah.
and it's like, I'm so excited that we maybe, I think by the end of 2021, we will be back into having events. I know that Houston Real Producers is actually having an in-person event. I think it's February 25th. I'm pretty sure. I've got to look at my
Right.
calendar, where it's top producers getting together to celebrate the year. And that's exciting, and I think that, we can do that. Yes, you have to be a little bit careful right now, and you can wear a plastic mask that, you can still have your lipstick on and everything. It doesn't mess your hair. Um,
Everyone gets to see your
or
beautiful face.
right. But we can do those things. And I mean, that's been something we've had a really hard time with this year, is that we're used to being in classes every week, talking with realtors, and 2020 didn't offer that opportunity, or we had to get creative and come to Zoom. And
Yes.
gosh, can you believe what would we have done this year without having technology? Technology has taken
Would
us
have
to a
gone
different
mad.
level.
It really has.
Right.
Just the connectedness in that too, fortunately we have Zoom for classes and meetings and so many things we need it for our jobs. But let me tell you, I never took advantage of FaceTime before with my family members. And now it's like we're scheduling FaceTime with people that we weren't even calling on the phone before. So the way that really being distant from each other has connected us in that way is really cool to see. And being able to utilize and learn about the tools that are out there to do that is very is a huge privilege.
Yeah. So now say somebody wanted to have their website updated. Is that something that you do yourself, or is that something that you kind of work with another company and kind of coordinate everything? How does that all work?
Yeah, kind of a little bit of both. It really depends on what you're looking for and the price range you're looking for to spend. So I think using a web platform, there's things like GoDaddy, and there's tons of others that I could plug, but that are DIY, and really you can create it yourself and maintain and get your information out there. And I work with my clients to customize whatever platform they're on to make sure everything's branded, the contents, lining up with what their mission is as a business. And then if they are looking for, really updating their website to customize it, if they really need to use it as an interface to connect with their clients and have more interaction on their website, I am grateful to have several different vendors that I do outsource to with wonderful rates that they do just for us. And so I'm happy to always send my clients over to them, and so grateful for industry partners like that, like you, and just so many great people we know who sometimes do that particular part of the job better than we can. And my biggest concern for my clients is adding value to them. And if I know someone who can add that additional piece and maybe more efficiently than I can, while I can do something more efficiently on the other end for them, it's just really cool thing to be able to work as a team like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. This morning I was on a 15-minute motivational and with Home Staging Redesign Association, and we were really talking about team. But the other part that I love that we were talking about is, leadership versus leadership. Oh gosh, I can't believe I missed this. Let me just grab my little notes.
No, you're good.
That's, oh gosh, where are they? Um, Leadership versus stewardship.
Yeah.
And stewardship is really what God has given us to run these businesses. They're, nothing is ours, it's all His.
Yeah.
And He's given us stewardship, and where you bring in team, and that might be outside vendors. But it's not, He never meant for us to do life by ourselves. He meant for us to do life in community and to be a blessing to one another. So I love that, you have those vendors, and we work the same thing. We have a whole bunch of vendors that we're not going we don't have the time to go paint your house, but we can bring somebody in, and that's the same thing. It's bringing in value added services to your clients to get the best product for them, which I love.
Yes,
So,
me too. Very, very fortunate to know those people too and be able to work with them.
That's awesome. So then, what about search engine optimization and all that
and all those alphabet letters
stuff, and Google AdWords, and
it really is another language. So I actually have a class coming up called SEO and Other Letters for Success that I'm excited.
And what is it? Other letters for success?
Yeah, SEO and Other Letters for Success. I promise I don't go through the entire alphabet because it would take us too long to find something for X, but it's going to be a really cool class where I do teach specifically people in the real estate industry, from agents to home builders. But fortunately, all of my CE classes with Trek and for extra credit or for credit hours for these agents, all of these classes transfer over to any entrepreneur and any industry, because ultimately we all need our marketing and we all need that SEO and things like that. So I'm really excited to bring that class this year actually and share more about SEO and why we need it. And again, that's actually one that I do outsource SEO. I same thing to my website guy because he has more experience and more time to do the SEO for my clients, but bring that knowledge to the table and
Right.
allow me to educate my clients not only in class but in our consultations too.
I love that. I love that. And again, I know that we've had to partner and we're kind of questioning, are we in the right partnership right now? But it's like, I know what I can do. It doesn't have anything to do with this internet stuff and public relations. That's just not where my gifts are. And I think it's so important that we team with the right people to build a great business that God has given to us to really, take it to the nth degree, take those talents and invest them and double them and multiply them and really bless others and
I
with service.
absolutely agree. I think being connected throughout the generations is so important, not only in your families, but just for our culture. It's so important that generations do connect. And how many do we have living on the planet right now? Is it like 6, maybe 7? I'm not even sure. But I think as every industry progresses, public relations, when I chose that as a major, looked a lot different than it does now. And that was even, about 10
Was
years
just a few
ago.
years ago.
It was a few years ago, but even in just that short amount of time, it really has changed so much. So what I thought I was getting into looked a lot different than what the standard and what the updates and the constant evolution of it, which is great. We do need to continue doing that, to have opportunities like Zoom and being, on a podcast like we are today. That wouldn't have been something we had the opportunity to do 20 years ago. And
Also,
so
I think that COVID took us at a much faster rate than we would have ever done this. It's like, yeah, we got a vaccine in 9 months, but we've also changed communication skills.
yes,
So talk to how COVID has done that, because it's crazy what it's changed in our lives.
it is. And just like you were saying, necessity, it really is the root of all innovation. And so we've had to use tools that we've either been given or didn't know existed and research. I mean, no one even knew what Zoom was last year, and now it's a verb. So Google, it may have taken a little bit more time, but I don't think too long. So being able to really get creative, that is one of my favorite things about my job, in creating content that's specific to each brand and each client that I have. While I do specialize in the real estate and hospitality and even nonprofit areas, every one of my clients is so different. Even if they're selling the same thing, their personalities really completely create another brand and another business that really is separate from their competitors. And so being able to use that same creativity in how we connect and how we promote, how we market, and even meet together, it's been tricky and sometimes frustrating a little bit. But at the end of the day, when I do get to that frustration, my go-to is almost always, and when it's not, it should be, is just having that attitude of gratitude, because I get frustrated that, because we're living in a pandemic, some of our events got canceled, yet I know that that is not a problem compared to so many other people and what they're dealing with during this time. And so to just really appreciate what we do have and live in that state of gratitude, I think that not only, adds positivity, but it helps you with with being creative and really looking at the glass half full and saying, okay, look, we don't have this, but we have so many other opportunities because of this. And so have been really fortunate to get creative, but also am so fortunate with the people around me who are just as creative and knowledgeable and excited about what we can do for the community during this time, even if it's to get their minds off everything that's going on around them.
Showing a bit of love is so
Yeah.
important right now. Um, what would you say is an average person doesn't realize about your business? What would be the average person that does?
So,
What is it that the average person doesn't realize?
well, first off, when you say PR, they're like HR. No, just a few letters down. Yeah. So public relations, it really, like I said a second ago, it looks so much different now. And so when, my parents think public relations, that looks maybe like a press release or a newspaper. Yet if I was explaining public relations to a 14-year-old, I would say, okay, what's on your Instagram? What's on your social media? And being able to tie all those things together, and again, that kind of goes along with all the cross generation, is really important for people to know and understand. Bill Gates said if he was down to his last dollar, he would spend it on PR. And unfortunately, marketing and PR are often one of the first things to go when funds are being tightened. And I think it's really important to remember that public relations isn't just about relationships and parties, though it's kind of fun to joke. It's about, being public with your relations. I always joke, but it really is about reputation management. And ultimately, that's what we're doing when we're creating content and distributing it to whatever target market that is for that client. And it's maintaining that presence, whether it's online or in person. And in person even looks a lot like online these days. But I think really understanding that PR is a lot more than just the relationship, though that's fundamental. That's fundamental behind any business. Our business is all about our relationship with our clients. But I think it's ultimately important to remember that PR is about your reputation and managing that.
I love that because you really don't think that much about that. I really don't think. But now, today, especially where there's so much online, you have to be aware. And there are so many different ways to say, oh, well, your reputation is this. But that's having somebody really watching that for you, and if there is a negative comment at some point, how do you address that? Because that's really important. Like somebody took the time to actually share a negativity. Well, what do I need to do to win that person back?
Right.
And how do you deal with, how do you watch your clients, their reputation? Like, do you use some kind of website that watches it continually, or how do you do that?
So with social media management, which is one of our core services, we not only create the content and work with our clients to strategize to make sure it's all strategic in what we're sharing and when we're sharing it, but we use schedulers that are lifesavers. And I highly recommend if you are doing your own social media to use a scheduler. There are so many out there, and I can give you that information as well. But I use that to not only post, but to monitor. And, fortunately, I have a lot of clients who, do have a great reputation before I even meet them. And so it is really easy to promote that reputation. But whenever a crisis does come up, and, uh, COVID is a perfect example, because it's almost like, well, do I address it? Do I not address it? I remember that first month, I believe, we actually, in my family, had a lot of life happening. And it took me probably 3 weeks to get on while the world had stopped. And even just saying, hey guys, I'm so sorry. We are here for you. Though it may not have seemed like it the last 3 weeks, we are doing life too. And so this is actually just a perfect example of something that household names experienced last year, and a reason to plan out your whole year too on a scheduler. But really just addressing, hey, we are here for you, and making sure that the clients know that you are available. No job should be 24/7, I don't think. And I think it's important to have those systems in place so that you can live your life while making sure your clients know you're available and feel connected to you as much as possible. But really, in terms of addressing, things like negative comments, it is important to address any sort of crisis or negativity that or bad press that your business or your brand or you yourself do experience. That's one thing you don't want to do, is just let it go in the shadow. You want to tell your story so that no one else does. But I do think it's important to know when to continue a discussion. I think arguments, that's not a word we need to use, because people are negative and have things to say, but that doesn't mean an argument needs to be started. It's more of just a matter of discussion. And I think when people doing their public relations, or if you are monitoring your own, it's important to just say, okay, know when to say something and know when to, contact what, yeah, keep it. Exactly. Because ultimately it is all public and it's out there. And sometimes it's better to use kind of, rule of thumb, talk to the person that you have the issue with before telling everybody else about it, kind of use that life rule when it comes to your marketing too.
Yeah, that's a great one, Bethany. Well, it's like your marketing as well as it gets into even your political views and your religious views. And, what do I respond to on Facebook or whatever, and it's sometimes it's just like, oh, I want to respond, but it's like, that's not good for my company. And
Right.
you have to make those decisions, which are very, very hard.
Absolutely.
What is one of your greatest challenges in today's business environment, and how have you, um, like, turned that challenge into an opportunity?
Yeah, I would honestly say, kind of sticking on that theme of social media, a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with it. And to be honest, I was one of those love haters until yeah, and I get it. And if it weren't for the job that I've chosen and the business I've chosen to pursue, I would still be in that mindset and mentality. But I had to say, okay, again, that's that attitude of gratitude. If this is something that's going to make me a livelihood, I can't have a hate. Hate's a really strong word in the first place. I try and leave it out of my vocabulary, but knowing that it really is something that impacts my life past just the emotional state of either enjoying it or getting riled up from it, it really, impacted my life. I knew I had to find the good in it. And that's not just to have a Pollyanna mindset about it, but really using it as a tool instead of a weapon. And I think kind of going back to the schedulers and showing people how to be on social media without actually being on it constantly. Consistency versus being constant on it is obviously important, but I tell my clients all the time, there are ways to plan out your social media so that either you're on it once a week, once a month, or hire somebody and you'll be on it once a year. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I always remind people, be up to date. If we had planned out our whole year on social media last year, that would have been a lot of time, unfortunately not well spent, because a lot of things changed. And it's important to stay up to date and make sure that you do address things as they go on, because while I'm a big component of keeping politics off and faith is something that runs through my veins. So I don't set it in a certain compartment, but I also want to make sure that every one of my clients feels comfortable and safe. So I think it's important to know when to promote your beliefs and when, again, to keep your mouth, subtly shut. And so I think that's important, just to show people, look, you can use it as a tool, and it doesn't have to ruin your life. It doesn't have to take too much time out of your day, and it can
Mhm.
honestly be fun when you do it the right way.
Yeah. We're still working on that scheduling. We are working on it, but
It's hard.
it's hard, and we're going to overcome.
Yes, yes. And honestly,
Anyway,
getting on a schedule about your
yeah.
scheduling, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it really will impact not only your social media, but your business, because of course, that distribution is so important.
So true. We are actually looking at our Google AdWords this morning and came across that there's a wrong phone number on one of the pages that the Google ad goes to. And we're like, no
Yeah.
wonder it's been quiet, So Tom was on that this morning, this is wrong. But anyway, talk about a time in your career where you absolutely failed. And then what did you learn from that?
So honestly, that kind of goes back to when I quit my job. I spent a month traveling. Again, that is something that was not planned, and it was a huge blessing and opportunity. But during that time, I was kind of going, okay, what am I going to do next? I have a lot of options, but it was almost not overwhelming in the opportunities, because, really looking for a job was not something that I had done at that point, but knowing that, okay, I could do this, or really wondering what path to go down. And that's when that blessed or block it comes into play. But, really, I felt like I was failing in not knowing where to go next. My fiance is also an entrepreneur, and a huge cheerleader, and always said, your first business is going to fail, so just get it out of the way. So as soon
Love
as
that.
yes, and honestly, that was great advice, because I was like, well, do I start a boutique? Do I all these things? I'm looking at my vision board going, well, I can't do a bed and breakfast quite yet. Can't do an event venue. Maybe I'll just sell my clothes. Like, what are we doing? I even actually started a home interior decorating business. That's a huge passion of mine. I love decorating, but it wasn't where God needed to use me. And so I went back to, oh, wait, light bulb moment. Why don't I use my degree? And so that's something that was great to share with my mom. Hey, mom, I'm using my degree. So that was awesome. And I think, in that failure, I wouldn't, be able to choose my schedule, and really ultimately choose the people I surround myself with, because I would have lived in that state of fear and just almost shame that comes with that, when you do feel like you've failed, whether it's yourself or others. So I think it's just, again, important who you surround yourselves with, but to really use the opportunities as a tool, and not a weapon against you.
I love that. I love that. It's somewhat of a negative question I always ask, but we all learn so much from those moments that we're like, oh, how did I do that? That was stupid. But the greatest successes come from our biggest failures. Why do we have WD-40? Well, there was 39 mistakes before WD-40 was created, and think about
Yes.
Edison and the light bulb. I
Yeah.
mean, I forget how many times he failed, but it's
Mhm.
like that one failure is getting us closer to our successes, which is so exciting.
I agree. I love that.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
I would say, other than start a business because it's going to fail.
Gonna fail.
No, I would,
I love that because it already got you off the hook of Yeah,
Oh,
most
took the
things do
pressure
that.
off.
It's okay.
Yes,
We're
yes.
also much inclined to be these perfectionists.
Mhm.
And you know what? Perfectionists, like, that is the little Walt Disney World thing. It's not
Right.
the perfect world.
Well,
Um,
and if I had been so worried that it had to be perfect, then which that's not to say I wasn't ever worried about that, but if I had been so worried about that first endeavor being so perfect, then I probably wouldn't have started it to begin with. But
and
so there's that. But in terms of best advice, I would probably just say something that was instilled, in me my whole life is just to be kind. That would be the best advice I could give someone. And that obviously plays a huge role in marketing and PR and all sorts of things like that, relationships and that reputation. Being kind will always win people over, and it's always going to help people out and will ultimately help you out the most too. You know, even in PR, there's a lot of humor, and I thrive off humor. That to my friends may roll their eyes, but I think it's one of my gifts. And I know that, as we see in the media, those don't always align, kindness and humor. And I even have to check myself sometimes. And I think it's important to know that no matter what you're doing, if you're there to entertain, if you're there to educate, if you are there to assist, whatever your purpose as a service provider is, uh, really being kind is the number one customer service advice I can give.
so true. I think Rita Santa Maria said the same thing to that question. She was
Oh,
just, we just all need to be kind to one another. This has been a very tough year.
mhm.
And you don't always know what somebody's there's the shoes they're walking in, and they may cut you off, and well, we don't know what that, maybe something horrible happened. And it's like looking at them with God's love and kindness is really what we're called to do. And sometimes it's hard, but really, you don't know. So love, and that's so good. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, who is your biggest cheerleader?
Okay,
Who has
that's gonna be a
you?
tie between the two people I've mentioned, my fiance and my mom. They are just my biggest cheerleaders in life, but also in business. So Steve, my fiance, like I mentioned, he is an entrepreneur himself, really, encouraged that I, uh, live out my live out my dreams and start a business, and had an opportunity to do that. So I'm so grateful for not only his nudge but his encouragement and his knowledge from owning a business himself, and my mom, who's been my cheerleader since day one. Obviously, I wouldn't be who I am, wouldn't be alive without her, obviously. But am so fortunate that not only I'm getting to make her proud, but that she is so passionate and so excited about my business too, is a really big blessing. She's on my advisory board, and she is just there to be so excited, when anything happens for household names, and I'm so grateful for that. But I'm just so grateful for my entire team of my best friends and my family. They really are the people that I couldn't do life without, and they all impact me every single day, and keep me motivated and keep me settled. That's for sure. they,
I
they
love,
do.
that's a good word. That's a big word, settled.
They
Like,
settle down.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there's times as a business owner, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's no money in the bank, or, or
And motivating.
payroll.
Yes.
What's that?
Well, I was just going to say it's a huge motivator too. When not only do you have a huge group of people that believe in you, but that are saying, okay, like, let's keep capitalizing on these ideas. This, I can sometimes want to procrastinate. And when I hear literally my cousins in the back of my head going, okay, Bethany, let's capitalize on these ideas you have. I'm going, okay, let's do it. That's why I've done the rest of what we've done so far. And we couldn't do it without our cheerleaders. That's for sure.
That is so true. That is so true. We need them a lot. That is awesome. Okay, final question.
Yes,
Why do
ma'am.
you love Houston?
Ooh, why do I love Houston? That's a good one. Well, full disclaimer, I'm not a born and raised Houstonian, though I'm fortunate to be here and very, very grateful.
You got here as fast as you could, right?
Yes.
I'm not one either, but I love it too. So
Okay,
go
and where
ahead.
are you from, Mary?
I'm from actually originally New York, but most recently from Cape Cod. So
Okay, I knew Cape Cod a little bit, but I love that you're from New York. That's so fabulous. I am from Fort Worth and love it, born and raised. I actually grew up in the same house my mom grew up in, which was such a
oh,
cool.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so love Fort Worth, and then moved to Lubbock when I went to Tech for college, and found my way in Houston, which I've got to say it was the last place I thought I would move after college. And my best friend called and said, "Okay, let's do this. Let's go live in Houston." I said, "Okay, awesome, let's do it." And I have loved it. I'm so fortunate to have met the people that I have. So number one would be the people. People like you. I mean, not only just people in my professional world, but the people I fellowship and do life with. And I mean, I met my fiance here. And so I'm so grateful for not only the opportunities of to meet the people that I have, but I really love Houston because it's just full of opportunities for business and for our industries. I think starting a business somewhere else may not have been the same route that I would have had that I did here. And I think, if you have an issue starting a business in Houston, we kind of laugh like maybe we should reevaluate that business plan because I really think there's so much opportunity here.
Exactly.
And I think it's so cool to see how the community comes together to support each other too. Um,
Oh, so true. So true.
I was here during Harvey, so I've been in Houston almost 5 years, and that was one of the first things that really connected me with Houston. Fortunately, we were okay during Harvey, but being able to connect with people and know who needed help and see how the community just comes together to do that. Last but not least, I would say Houston's fabulous for anyone who loves the beach and loves the lake and loves the land because that's me. And I love that I can be there in less than an hour from where I live. So I think that's a great thing about Houston, too.
Yeah, we just have so many things to do here. So, hey, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I would love to get in touch with all of you guys. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or Pinterest at Household Names TX. And I'm sure I'll include that somewhere. And then via email at balexander@hnpr.us.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Bethany, so much for just spending some time with me today. This has been so much fun.
Mary, it is absolutely my honor. This is the highlight of my week. I know it's only Monday, but I promise when I see you Thursday, I'm going to say it's still been the highlight. This is fabulous. Thank you so much for having
I have to
me here.
say, I'm so excited. I'm heading to Florida this afternoon, and I'm meeting some friends there for International Builders Conference. And I was like, "Hey guys, do y'all like raw oysters? There's the greatest dive, and I love it, love it, love it." And they're like, And then my girlfriend from college, who I'm meeting tonight, she's like, "There, do you want to go, Lee and Rick's?" I'm like, "Yes."
Oh,
So
I
we're
love
going
it.
tonight. So
That is
anyway,
so
so
fun.
isn't that fun? So
That is
anyway,
awesome.
I am. I'm so excited. But anyway, so much fun. And I will see you next week at graduations for Broker Boot Camp, which is so
Yes,
exciting.
so
And
exciting.
yeah, and we didn't really get to talk about Broker Boot Camp that much, but we have partnered together with Select Title and Julie Lehman and also Christy Stratton. And it is taking brokers through a totally different look at their business. And if you're interested, you can also contact us and we can get you connected because really, really, your business will have a totally different look and how you bring team into your business and having a what's it called?
Philosophy.
Philosophy
Yeah.
for your business so that your business runs with or without you, and
Mhm.
everybody knows how they are to, how to interact with your clients and stuff. So it's it's an amazing class, and we can't say enough about it.
No, I really can't. I highly recommend it for anyone. I'm so grateful to Christy Stratton and Richard Mendelow who have created this course for Select Title and all of the realtors who are attending, all the brokers. It's actually the second time I'm going through, and because I love it so much. It's so great, just a great opportunity to not only get your thoughts organized about where you want your business to go, but really where it needs to start too. And that's in the leadership, and that's in the servant leadership, I think. So
Exactly. So, well, thank you, Houston, for joining us. And if you need any assistance with home staging or interior design, give us a call, 877-458-8254. Have a great
awesome. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Simple Elegance.
Thank you. Mwah.